last week, I started building a web app, a video captioning web app. So a web app where you can upload a video and have an AI generate captions, and then we'll add more features. I started building that last week. In case you missed it, no worries. You don't need to watch the recording first. You can, but you don't have to. I'll quickly walk you through what we built. And then here, that is what we'll try to do today, though I have my doubts that we'll be able to go through all of that. But we'll try. So I opened the project here. It is a project using React Router in framework mode and using BetterAuth for authentication and Drizzle for database interactions, though at the moment we don't really have any, just the ones BetterAuth does for us, but that will hopefully change today. And I think it's best if we just start by taking a look at the app in the current state. So at the moment, we have our authentication screen. But at the moment, we can also continue without authenticating. We can upload videos without authenticating, and that is something we'll work on today to make sure that this does not work. But right now, we can bypass it. And what we can do then is we can take a video, and I'll just grab one here on my second screen. We can take a video and drag and drop it here, and then press upload, and that will upload it to Cloudflare, to a Cloudflare R2 bucket. And in case you don't know, Cloudflare R2 is essentially an alternative to AWS S3. It is a cloud object storage. So you can upload and store files there. So into this bucket, we're uploading these videos. And you see there are already a couple of videos from last week. And then this one, that is from today. So that's the one I just uploaded here. And then for the moment, that's it. That's all we can see here, right? One thing that does happen behind the scenes, though, is that a transcription is created. And I'll walk you through the models I used and so on in just a second. I'll get back to that. So we create a transcription of that video, so that we get the captions of this video, and we get them on a word level basis. So every single word gets a timestamp, and we will need that later, probably not today, when we add another feature to this app. But we also get the captions as SRT captions, which is just a special caption format. So we get the captions of this video. This text here, that's the actual text I'm speaking in that video I just uploaded. So that already is pretty useful, but right now I'm only storing that here in my project, and of course that's not really what we want. At some point we want to expose these captions to the user and make them downloadable, of course. Now these captions are being created with help of a third-party API, specifically with help of 11 Labs, which you might know. 11 Labs is a quite popular audio AI service, you could say. So they got a couple of features related to audio and AI. They have quite capable text-to-speech models, so models which you give some text and then they generate the audio. But here we're doing the opposite because they have a very good speech-to-text model as well. And that's the one we're using here, their speech-to-text model, to generate these captions. That's what we're doing. And last week, I wrote this code here, or to be precise, AI wrote most of that code. As you can tell by all these comments, that's typically a good sign that something was written by AI. So we got a lot of AI generate code here. And as you see, it does the job. We can upload a video, we get a caption. Of course, the UI is not finished. It would be nice to see the captions and be able to download them as a user, but it's working. But it's also already a rather big file. And for example, here in the JSX code, we can see there are a bunch of ternary statements and nested ternary statements, which can be a bit hard to read. And yeah, in general, there are a couple of things I probably want to refactor and restructure. And that is one thing we'll do today. And I know refactoring code is not everybody's favorite in my courses. I always get a lot of heat if I show refactoring. But to be honest, it's a core part of being a developer. You will refactor code, even the code you wrote yourself, and especially with AI, you often have to adjust it, at least in my experience. We will also continue using AI though, and we will also use AI for refactoring, or at least we'll try using it for that. Yeah, by the way, since I see the discussion in the chat, yeah, using AI has its advantages and disadvantages, and I also have situations where I get decent results. I have situations where I get bad results. Of course, you wanna try to be very specific with your prompts. That helps increase the chances for good results, but still, it's not always perfect, and you will often end up with code that might not work, or code that needs improvement, or code like this that does work, but that still, yeah, can be improved and may need some refactoring. So that's one thing we'll do. Before we do that though, I want to start by protecting some routes, because in this app, as I mentioned, we have authentication, right? So on the starting screen, we have the login screen, and we can also sign up, and we implemented all that last week. We're using better auth here, and that is all working, but right now we're not enforcing it. By the way, when I say that is all working, the login with GitHub is not working yet. We might add that in the future, but we can register with email and password. But we're not really taking advantage of that, because as I showed, we can still get to /video without being logged in. So that's something we'll fix. By the way, all that code is also on GitHub. So the snapshot from last week is also on GitHub, and a link to that can also be found below this recording from last week, and I'll also put a link to it under the recording of today. But yeah, let's start protecting some routes so that we can't reach this route if we're not logged in. And for that, I think we can use React Router's middleware feature. I say I think because I haven't used it yet, because at the point of time where well, it's a live stream, right? So right now, this is unstable, it's experimental. So it's a pretty new feature, I haven't used it. Maybe it has bugs, we'll see, but it sounds perfect. They even mentioned that, of course, it is a feature that is very good for use cases like authentication. So it is a feature I want to use here. And the idea simply is that we put such a middleware, so a function through which every request has to go in front of this video route, so that users can't get there if they're not authenticated. That's the idea. So let's simply go through the documentation, because I haven't used it before either. And it starts by telling me that I need to enable this future unstable middleware feature by setting this flag. And we need to do that here in the React Router config. In there, we can add a future object. And in there are a couple of features we can enable, like this middleware feature, which I'll set to true here. Excuse me. So that should unlock it. With it unlocked, we can, so we did that. So with that unlocked, we can create a context object, as it seems. And my understanding is that this is not like React's context feature, but instead it's primarily there for TypeScript to understand which kind of data our middleware might add to requests. Because of course you could add a middleware that does manipulate the incoming request. So the request might have some extra data attached to it. And my understanding is that with this second step, we tell React Router and TypeScript which kind of data might get added. I might be totally wrong though, but that is my understanding. So I'll just copy this here and add a new in the app folder, add a new context.ts file where I import unstable create context. And then, well, I don't have a user object which I want to add. So I guess I might want to add some data which includes the user ID, let's say. Is that a string? Let me quickly check. In my code here, I have the schema BetterAuth uses. So that's the description of the data as BetterAuth writes it to the database. And yeah, here I can see that the user ID is some text. By the way, as a database, I'm using SQLite. So that's a local database file. It's actually this file here, appdb, where we can also see that we got one user already with this ID and this email. And of course, also with the password. So yeah, user ID is a string, and I'll just set my context up like this, and we'll see whether that works or not. The next step then is to add the middleware to every route that should be protected. And for that, since I only have one route that needs protection right now, we can use this approach here. Further down, we also see an approach we could use if we wanted to add the same middleware to multiple routes. So what I'll do is I'll copy this here and go to my video TSX file, which is the route I want to protect. Whoops. And in there, outside of the component function, I will create this constant named unstable middleware. And I think it has to be called unstable middleware. You can also add server and client middleware, as I see, but yeah, it has to be called unstable middleware as I understand it. So that is the key or the name React Router will look for. An unstable middleware is an array of middleware functions where every function receives a request and context property in this object which it receives. And then in there we can do stuff and, for example, redirect if the user is not authenticated. So first I'll import route here to get better type support, and then get user from session. That is wrong. What I want to use is my auth object, which is provided by BetterAuth. And then there I can use the API object and call get session on my request. Does this work? Yes. And then I get back some auth data, let's say, in which I have a session key describing that auth session and then more details about the user, though the user ID is also here in session. So I can actually extract my session. Can I not? Why is this not allowed? Because auth data is potentially null, right? Yeah. Okay, so we can check if, or I can set my session equal to auth data question mark session. And then we can check if not auth data or not session, which means we're not logged in. And in that case, I indeed wanna redirect. And for that, conveniently, when using React Router, we can use the redirect function and throw it as an error, and that will be caught by React Router then, and it will perform the redirect. Though here I don't want to go to /login, but just to the starting page, because in my case here, that is the login page. Okay, and that is how we could then add data to the request if we're not redirecting. I can use context set, and then here, where's this user context coming from? Oh, that's what we're importing here, right? So we got this context, this user context, okay? So we can import this here as well. And then set UID to session user ID. No, it's user ID, I think. Yeah. Okay, and that will then store the ID of the authenticated user here in the context, and we could then use that in other parts of the app if we needed to. At least that's my understanding. Good. So that should now, I think, protect this route. And I think I'm not logged in here. Yeah, so if I reload, I'm redirected. And if I now log in again, and I hope I remember my password, we'll see. Whoops. Yeah, I'm redirected and I can reload now. So that now works, reloading this page. But if I click log out, I'm redirected again. And if I now try to go to video without being authenticated, I don't get there. So that is looking good. So that is the route protection done. Perfect. Yeah, so we protected the routes. Next up, cleanup. Everybody's favorite thing. First, the question by Annan. Do you think that AI is better suited at running alongside your IDE, keeping an eye on what you write and providing suggestions, hints in a subtle way instead of us using AI to generate something? Yep. I think that is a very interesting use case. And it's not really what we have today, right? So there might be some extensions, some plugins you can add, I'm not sure. But the standard way of using AI today, of course, I would say, is like here in Cursor, to use this AI integration and chat with it here, right? Or use Claude Code, which I now also got for 1 month just to try it out. And yeah, I'm not fully convinced, to be honest. But yeah, the idea is always the same, right? That you, as you said, that you tell the AI what you want it to do, and that is it. And I think that an AI watching you and giving you some feedback or hints could be very interesting indeed. Speaking of Claude Code, since I have it, since I paid for the month anyways, we can also maybe use it here and there in this project as well. And therefore, I will actually first run init here to initialize it in this project, which will basically get Claude to analyze the project, understand my code style, and create a Claude MD file with some general instructions for Claude. And that can't hurt if I'm using it here and there. So yeah, that is one thing I'll do here. And then, of course, as I mentioned before, the plan is to clean up this video TSX file a bit, which may or may not be too much fun, but we'll see. It's part of the coding process. I will also make a commit here. Git commit, added route protection, because that is what I did. And I can also already push that. So if you are following along in that GitHub repository, you can now already see my changes there. So Claude is doing its Claude things here. I just have to keep an eye on that because it will ask me for permission here and there, I think. But whilst it's doing that, I can already kind of walk through what I want to clean up here. So as mentioned, this video TSX file, which does the uploading and all that, is a pretty large file with a pretty complex JSX structure. And then there are a couple of other things I also don't like. For example, in this entire JSX code, there isn't a single form element, even though it technically, of course, is a form, right? I mean, that is a form in the end. It's a form where we can upload something and then press a button once we did so. And of course, it works without being a form, but for accessibility reasons and so on, it would make sense to turn this into a form. So it's things like that. Oh, and here I have to confirm that it's allowed to read my .env file. Yeah, I just hope it doesn't print it to the screen here. I have to keep an eye on that, because if it does, I quickly need to invalidate all my API keys and tokens. Yeah, but looks good. As per your experience, where do you see the future of the development, and which course as a student I should start watching to get a job? So of course, it's always tricky to tell. Nobody can tell the future. I don't see development or writing code going anywhere. I'm heavily using AI, and I'm heavily using it to build all kinds of applications, and also use it in code bases that are more than just, let's say, 1,000 lines of code. And my experience is that AI is good for certain tasks, but not always, and always bad at other tasks or when used incorrectly. So as a developer, you, in my opinion, should absolutely learn to use AI efficiently, but that does not mean that you have to use it for everything or that you will like it. And it's perfectly fine to not like it or not use it. I just think you can get some advantages out of using it. And at least that's my experience. And yeah, therefore, I'm definitely using it. I'm trying to take advantage of it. And if you're a developer or if you're an aspiring developer, I would recommend that you still learn to code with all the fundamentals you would have learned before. So you can take a web dev bootcamp course, you can take a Python bootcamp course, you can take my React course if you want to learn React, because that knowledge is very helpful when writing good prompts or to write good prompts for the AI, because you want to give AI specific hints, you want to ask it for specific tasks so that in the end, it can speed you up by writing a lot of code faster than you would, but you control which code it writes, if that makes sense. So learning these basics and learning how to use AI efficiently is a good idea in my opinion. So now here I got a first draft for this claude.md file. And what I got here is, so let's see, using npm. Well, I'm actually using bun, but we can change that. Let's use bun. And framework is React Router with server-side rendering. We have SQLite Drizzle, Cloudflare R2, Better Auth, 11 Labs, Tailwind version 4. That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. I would say these are the environment variables. Sure. Yep, looks good. Let's save it. Let's accept it. And with that, I guess we got Claude configured and can use it. Hi, WebDev Cody. Nice to see you here. Love your videos, by the way. If you are the WebDev Cody from YouTube, which, yeah, I guess you are. Yeah, so we got that all set up. Now let's start cleaning up this mess here. And there are a couple of things we can do here, or we might want to do. And I'll start with something very simple. I'll change the way we submit the form by turning this into a real form. And for that, I just have to find the outermost wrapping element that wraps the form relevant content, I'd say. So we got the upload video, we got the drag and drop area, we got the file input here, which is hidden, but which is ultimately the field that contains the relevant data. Oh God, we got so much content here. We got the progress indicator here, I guess. Well, you see, that's the disadvantage. If you let AI generate all the code, it takes some time to get oriented and understand that structure again. Upload and process video. That sounds like a button that should be inside the form. Okay, and then we got this transcription success thing here, which upload another video. I don't think we need to put that into the form. Well, maybe we do. So we could say, I guess, that really it is the outermost div. That's quite boring. But we can, I guess, turn this into a form. And I'm using the regular form tag and not the one that is actually coming with React Router, because I am handling the form submission without React Router's built-in capabilities here, because I am using an API route for generating this pre-signed URL and for triggering the transcription process. So in Video TSX, I'm actually sending a bunch of client-side HTTP requests manually, and I want to keep it like this because this also allows me to track upload progress for the actual upload request. By the way, that's important in case you missed last week. I'm uploading videos to R2, as I mentioned, by generating a pre-signed URL. I'm doing that here on my server. And then I'm returning that pre-signed URL to the client side, and then I'm using that to upload directly from the client side, so from the computer of the user using my website to R2. And the advantage of that is that I don't need to handle the file on my server. I don't have to worry about that. I just hand it off to R2. So I want to keep it like this. Therefore, I'm using the regular form element. But now we can handle its submission with onSubmit. And previously, I did that instead with this button, which had handle upload. And I don't want to have that here. So I'll remove that click listener and remove the type button so that this is type submit. We don't need that. That's the default, but I'll add it here to make it very clear. This is the button that submits the form in the end. And let me just quickly check that we don't have any other buttons I'm forgetting here. Remove, choose different file. So these are buttons for managing the file attachments. No, that should be the right button for triggering the actual upload process. So handle upload becomes handle submit, let's say. And yeah, I will get a React form event triggered by an form element. And now, of course, I want to prevent the default, to prevent that navigation, which otherwise gets triggered by the browser. And now, previously I constructed the form data manually. Now we actually don't really need to do that anymore, because now we can get that form data from that submitted form. We just have to make sure that it does include the file name and the file type fields. And I don't think it does, to be honest. I think it has just this file input, which contains the file, of course. But the problem with that is that I'm sending this to my pre-sign API route. I would need to change this if I change data in a different shape. Yeah, so we can do this later, but for now I'll keep it like this to not break everything. The only thing I'll do now is just point this at handle submit, quickly test if this still works, and then we can do the bigger refactoring. Yeah, so that's still looking good. Hi Max, I want to buy your Udemy course on self-hosting AI. I see that there are 2. Which one to buy? Actually, I only have 1 course on self-hosting. Let me just switch to a browser where I'm not logged in. So if you go to acad.link/local-LLMs, you will be forwarded to this course with a nice coupon applied automatically. And that's the one, Local LLMs via Olama and LM Studio, the practical guide. That's the one where I introduce you to running large language models locally on your system. Thanks, I'm kind of a JavaScript person. I have watched your full JavaScript course, basics to advanced. Should I try to master one thing like development, or should I try out different things? So if you already went through a full JavaScript course, I would definitely start trying out things. I would start building stuff. I would get into backend development. I have that in the course too, to some degree, but I would just start building stuff, because that's the only way to get better and also grow. You can do that with other courses by me, like the Node.js course, but you don't have to, of course. The project you're currently working on is actually the same one I tried to develop after watching your Flutter course, but I couldn't handle the rendering part. Yeah, we'll see how far we get here today. Okay, so let's start the actual refactoring. And for that, I'll use Claude Code here. And I think it makes sense to break this huge component here up into one component that handles the drag and drop part, and then one component that displays the progress. Yeah. And actually, so I'll say this component is pretty large and complex. We need to break it up like this. Extract the drag and drop area into its own component. Store it in a app components folder. Extract the upload progress into its own component. Refactor the JSX code to not use ternary expressions as much anymore. Instead, prefer variables plus if conditions to make the code more readable. And actually, I'll say, if you find more reasonable or reasonably extractable components, definitely go ahead. And then I'll say, therefore, carefully analyze this file, evaluate the code, identify extractable and reusable components, and perform the code adjustments. And we'll see how that goes, because after all, the idea is to see how well we can do this with AI here. How do we know that I'm real, not AI generated? That is true. Maybe I am just an AI avatar. I have like a model that has not been released to the public, and it's so good that you can't tell the difference here. It even has my German accent. Yeah, let's create that folder. The JavaScript Node.js courses are kind of old content, don't you think? Well, depends on how you look at it. JavaScript and Node.js still works in the end how I teach it in the courses. Have new features been added? Sure. To some degree, I cover them in the courses. To some degree, I maybe don't. But the core idea is still the same. And it's not like they're from ES5 days or something like that. So you should be fine. Okay, so what's it doing? It's creating a drag and drop area component file in components video. Sure. And I could allow everything, but right now I want to see what it does, which is why I'm manually allowing it on a step-by-step basis, essentially. We'll see how that component looks thereafter. In my experience, and we'll see if it's the same today, AI is not that bad for refactoring, but maybe it's horrible here. We'll see. Yeah, upload progress. Do you think Claude Code is better than using Windsurf editor? So I haven't really used Windsurf. I played around with it like 3 or 4 months ago, but really only for half a day. I didn't see any advantage over Cursor. Now, compared to Cursor, well, I'll get back to that. Let me just quickly check. File status. Yeah, sure, let's do that. Compared to Cursor, I have to admit, I don't see the huge advantage of Claude Code. It's not bad, but if you write good, precise prompts where you go through the effort of providing all the relevant context, in my experience, Cursor is quite good. So yeah, I have Claude Code. I paid for the month, so I will use it. It's not bad, but honestly, Cursor is enough for me, I think. Maybe I'm convinced after one more week of using it, but right now that is my feeling. So what do we have here? Status icon. Oh, an entire component that's just about rendering icons, though still with a lot of ternaries, right? So we'll see. We'll see if it fixes that when it gets to the last point here. Otherwise, we'll have to ask it again. So this video TSX file, oh, I think it just extracted, but it did not really adjust it. Yeah, it's going to that now. So we'll see how that file looks like when it's done. I hope it's not all broken thereafter. I hope it still works. But there's always the danger with AI. What I like about Cursor, for example, is that it can do its thing, and then I have this nice diff view, the differences like green and red highlights right here in my editor. With Claude, I don't really get it like this. Especially not if I tell it to just do its thing and I don't check every change manually. So that's one thing I like about Cursor, that I can always leave it be. I don't have to pay attention. I can come back later and I can go through all the changes it made. Maybe Claude can do that and I just didn't find it yet. But that's one thing. And in general, I just don't see why I would pay for it when I'm already paying for cursor. And not using cursor is not really an option for me because the tap, tap, tap feature where you quickly can go through the code, and if you make a change in one place, it smartly detects all the other 10 places where you probably want to make a change. That is really strong, I have to say. So I know I get a preview of what's changing here, but only because I have not allowed it to make all the changes, and I still have to confirm every change on its own. Otherwise, I wouldn't be getting that view to my knowledge. Yeah, but here that looks good. That component definitely got a bit smaller. Yeah, so it needs to go back to the drag and drop area because it needs to like accept the file input ref. So it's now accepting this, and yes. Whoops. Yes. Windsurf looks like it has the same features as cursor. Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, I didn't really see. I tried it for half a day. I didn't see that it's better than cursor, so I stuck to cursor. So much code. What are you making? We're building a site, a web application that allows us to upload videos and then have an AI generate captions. And then we'll do more stuff with that, but that's the part we're working on right now. Actually, that's already working, but now we're doing some cleanup work because the code is not that good. Or can be improved, let's put it like this. Yeah. I probably should just accept all changes. Yeah, I'll do that now because that's getting annoying when it goes back and forth on a single file. So let's see what we get once it's done. So already the video TSX file, of course, is a lot cleaner, which was the goal. After all, we'll see if it still works, but it is cleaner. I definitely also want to outsource a lot of this code here, the actual code that sends the requests. We'll do that next. But first, we'll check if it still works. Handle drag and so on are still in here, which I guess makes sense because we still want to handle the result of something being dragged and dropped here. Though, actually, we definitely want to know once something got dropped, but we don't really need to be notified here that something was dragged over the drag area because we only need that information, if I'm not mistaken, to change the styling of the drag and drop area. Well, if that's way out of your understanding, and by the way, I don't think it is. It's less complex than it might sound like, but even if it is, that's all the more a reason to watch and enjoy and maybe see me fail at it too. So what I was saying is I don't think the drag and drop area is very good the way it was built because we have a bunch of props here and we're managing a lot of state related to dragging and dropping still here in this video component, even though we only needed inside of the drag and drop component to update the styling there. So we can still simplify this. We don't need all that state in here, I think. Makes no sense to me. Why do we need the uploading thing in there? Is the progress bar in there, or what are we using the uploading? We're not using it, right? So it's not getting used. So we don't need uploading. We don't need this. What do we need upload success for? To change the border color. But since we don't output any error message regarding an upload failure, or do we? Oh, we got these state. Okay, we're passing this as children in there. So we definitely don't need, let me finish that thought. We definitely don't need uploading and transcribing because we're not using that information here. So that is, whoops, that is definitely something I want to change. And I'm not sure if I like this approach of, I mean, why would we pass all this here as child elements into this drag and drop area? Is it because of this choose file thing? Like if I, let's see if it works first. If I do drag something in there, okay, because these buttons are in here and these buttons are there, but can't we just bake them in there? I mean, the upload progress, can't we have that outside of the drag and drop area? And this empty state, can this not be there as well? If I change that. So if I now reload. Okay, now what did I do wrong? Selected file name. Okay, that is not an option. So that has to be in there. The question just is if it shouldn't be. I guess the progress can be outside of it, right? So if I do, again, drop in there, upload, yeah, that is still perfectly fine. So the progress bar doesn't need to be in there. Now, I see that it is useful to have the feedback of what's going on here. By the way, of course, it's a bug that this immediately disappears thereafter, but that makes sense. Still, I mean, if we would want to use the drag and drop area somewhere else in the application, we couldn't because it's way too specific. But on the other hand, you don't need to abstract everything just because you could potentially need it somewhere else if you don't really need in reality. There is a tendency to always abstract too much and build super complex code, even though you might only need one thing in one place. So it might be fine to leave it like this. It just feels a bit bad to have something that's called drag and drop area and that has so many specific props that are not related to just drag and drop, but to uploading and creating transcriptions and so on. So yeah, but I do like the way it currently works, that we reflect the status, the success status in there and so on. So maybe I'll leave it like this, yeah. Good. So we'll leave it like this, I guess, for now. We can always come back to it later. So that is that. Now, show upload button, show upload another button. What is this state? Upload another video. So that is the part that immediately disappears once we're done, I guess. We don't really see that once we're done. Upload and process video. Well, I guess this appears once I drag something in there, right? If I do drag this in here, that's this button. Okay, so that is this button. I mean, by the way, this is the thing you get when you let your code generate by AI and you have 1 week break, which I did. I did not look at the code during the last week. You have to go through the code again and understand it. So that is a trade-off you, of course, also want to measure or compare to the potential speed up you get by AI, because, of course, here I'm losing time I would not be losing if I had written the code myself, because I would totally understand what's going on. Anyways, upload another video. I don't think we need this. We don't need this right now. So we can delete that. File key. I don't think we're obviously not using this, so we can get rid of that. If I could speak. I think as a next step, I wanna kind of optimize these functions a little bit. Get rid of some of that extra non-JSX code I have in there, and of some comments here. Sure, cursor, you're right. Yeah, I want to do all that. Nice div soup we got here, but I'll not mess with that right now. That's the log out button. What? That's my header. I don't want to have that in my form here. Yeah, so definitely get that out of there. And I will go to my components, and in there, and I know this is hidden by the chat, but I'm just creating a new header TSX file in my components folder, and in there I'll export this header component here, this here. Want to grab that, return this here, and handle logout is therefore also something we can extract. Here we go. Whoops. Handle logout, go here. We could also put this in a separate file, I guess. Need to navigate, the use navigate hook to get access to the navigate function. And sign out is a function I already defined where I get from auth client, so that's fine. Okay, so that's that. We don't need navigate in here anymore, therefore we can get rid of that. Yeah, and I'll ask Claude, can we manage some of that drag and drop related state inside of and then at drag drop area? Because right now it seems like a lot of drag drop specific state is managed in the video component, which is component, which is not really the best place for it. Let's see if that works. Oh, we got a lot of questions or conversation. This is a real person. Maximilian has used open large language model and fine-tuned such that it can act as an avatar. Yeah, this is an AI avatar. From my perspective, you need at least medium to high coding knowledge to really benefit from any AI tool. Yeah, absolutely, Marco. I agree. Luckily, SonarQube does not see this. Refactor this method to reduce its cognitive complexity from 300 plus to 15 allowed. Give him instructions to use atomic design and avoid prop drilling. Yeah, I'm a bit afraid that when I say avoid prop drilling, I'll just get a lot of contexts that will be nested into each other. But I could try it, you're right. What's your opinion on HTML components? Since it's visible in the browser, it could be potentially unprofessional. Comments, HTML comments, not components. I don't see it as unprofessional. I mean, not that many people are going to look at the source code. Typically, the source code is full of style and script tags anyways. So I wouldn't put anything into the comments you don't want people to see, like secrets and so on. But just in general, having comments in your HTML code is not something you have to avoid at all cost, I'd say. You can also let the AI review and explain the code for you. I've been using Perplexity. That is one of the best tools at the moment. I haven't used Perplexity. I don't have an account there, to be honest. But I do also sometimes use AI for that. Yeah, you're right. Letting it explain code can make sense. It's not like I don't know anything about that code, though. It's just I have to get back into it. And during streaming, it's always a bit harder because you have to pay attention to so many things. At least for me, I'm not that experienced with streaming. I rarely do it after all. Yeah, you definitely don't wanna code without checking and testing. I agree. How security is when we use Claude Code? So security is a totally different topic. I have zero trust in AI regarding that. Not that it can't get things right. I'm not saying that, but I 100% wanna audit everything and go through all the potential security issues I know before I release that. That is still not a guarantee because I'm not perfect, obviously, nobody is, but I would never trust this and say, hey, it works, let's ship it. Never, under no circumstances. I wanna check all the potential attack vectors and places for cross-site scripting attacks, SQL injection, if you're using AI, if you're using input by the user for in prompts, you want to check for prompt injection attacks as well. You want to check for CSRF attack vectors and all that stuff. Absolutely 100%. Yeah, got zero trust regarding that. Vibe coding is going but I worry about the production use. Well, to be very honest, pure vibe coding has no production use. It really hasn't. I'm not sure if that will be different in a couple of years. I don't think so, but right now it hasn't. It's not production ready. It's luck. You're relying on luck. Is validation a part of this coding project? You mean validating the uploaded file? Yeah, we should probably do that. Though it's not something I'm doing right now, and since I'm never opening this file on my servers, I don't worry about it as much because I'm uploading it to R2, and then I'm using that link to the file on R2, and I send that link to 11 Labs because they support that, thankfully, for them to transcribe it. So the raw uploaded file never touches my server, so I don't worry about it too much. In general, of course, we want to validate user input, and I'm not necessarily doing it right now. Okay, so yeah, looks like I have less state in here now, so I like that more. Looks like we're now doing more work here in the drag drop area. Let's see if it still works though, because that's always the alternative, that it's looking better but not working anymore. But it looks like it still does work. Still not sure why we soon, when it's done, why we only briefly see, well, I don't see anything here, but why it immediately jumps back to the original state. I'll have to investigate that. Yeah. Hey, Jonas, thank you so much. So much. Much appreciated. Too kind of you. I make Claude Code check the codes as a hacker. Yeah, you can definitely also use AI, and I will use AI for having it check my code, but I still will also 100% do it myself. What is the difference between Claude Code and, for example, using Copilot with Claude Model? So the difference is that it's terminal-based, but that's not necessarily an advantage. I've heard that it should be better at gathering the right context on its own. But I always try to write very specific prompts in Cursor anyway, so that's not too important for me. And other than that, it is a good question. Yeah, one advantage can be cost. If you pay $200 per month for the biggest plan Claude offers, you do presumably get a lot of usage out of that, maybe more than you would get for the equal amount of money with Cursor, but I haven't tested this. I haven't reached that limit yet. Yeah, good luck debugging all the wipe-coded code. So, drag and drop area looks better, I'd say. Video file also looks better. Now I want to outsource some of these functions like start transcription or this code here that handles the pre-signing and uploading code. And again, since that is the theme here, we'll try to do that with very specific agentic engineering prompts. And to mix things up, I'll not do it with Claude Code. I could, I just don't want to. And instead, I'll use Claude still, but now with Cursor. And I'll say this component is quite complex and contains lots of code. We need to split it up, therefore. The plan is to extract all the HTTP request logic into separate functions in a separate file in the lib folder. Upload TS. Actually, I'll create that file for it. I'll add an upload TS file in the lib folder and point at that. Because again, you want to be specific to make sure or to increase your chances of getting good results. Put the following or move the following code into that file or the following functions into that file. And then I can point at those functions, or actually not, because I want to grab a part. Well, I guess I want to, or yeah, move the following functionality into that file. Generating pre-signed URLs. uploading via XHR. Keep the handle submit and start transcription functions in video TSX. Just move parts of them with the functionality described above. By the way, you can definitely argue if it's now quicker if I would have just done the work or if I describe it like this. Because now it, again, still, of course, takes some time to execute that. So maybe just doing it would have been faster. And that is, by the way, something I found very tricky. It feels productive to write, hopefully, good prompts and to watch it do its job and to not manually move the code. But if we're very honest, diving into the code and extracting the relevant parts and moving that into a separate file probably wouldn't have been too difficult. So we might not be faster here. And I think that is a trap many people, myself included, often fall into if you're trying to use a lot of AI, because you might feel productive, but you aren't. Because here, now I'm just sitting here talking with you, and for a live stream, that's actually great, because this allows me to focus on the chat and so on and let AI write the code for me. But if I were working on my own here, I might not be faster at all. And of course, it always depends on the task and the amount of code and the complexity of the code that needs to be removed. And maybe you can't like move the code in one block and then AI might be faster. It's just something to think of, I guess. Great to see you on Twitch. Have done a few Udemy courses years ago. Keep on the good work. Yeah, thank you so much. Hype No Chess. Happy to hear you were part of those courses. I hope you liked them. And thanks for joining the stream. We all know the limitations of AI when it comes to security, architecture, and scaling. Thus, we can say AI can be a front-end developer, but a hobby back-end dev. I would not even say that it can be a good front-end developer, because front-end development is not as trivial as many people make it seem. When it comes to using more or less recent or niche browser features, AI doesn't know about that. It often writes garbage code. With React, it uses useEffect all the time in certain situations. So you might end up with a bad performance, a bad user experience. So it can do stuff on the front end. It can be very good, but I wouldn't even say that it's so much better than at backend development there. Okay, that's what I like about Cursor. I can talk and watch and let it do its thing, and now I can just see what it changed. Okay, so it got me a new function, get download pre-signed URL. And we got two functions, one for getting a pre-signed URL for uploading and one for downloading. And we need the downloading one for sending it to 11 Labs, which then does the actual transcription. So that's why we need both functions. And in there, it creates form data and sends that request to to my backend API. And actually, we could also use JSON data instead of form data here, I guess. It's my backend API. I could rewrite it to expect JSON data if I wanted to, but for now, we can also just like leave it like this. Upload file with progress, uses XML HTTP request, takes the on progress callback, which makes sense. So by the way, I guess we can just accept this file. Looks good. Here, handle submit, we get the upload pre-signed URL, and then we upload with progress, and that looks good. That's a lot of code removed, and I assume it still works. I did not spot an obvious mistake there. Yeah, looking good. And I know, by the way, refactoring is not always the fun part, the most fun part, but it is important because especially with all that AI-generated code, if I would never refactor it, it would just grow and grow, and then at some point the AI results would get worse because there's too much context in there. So yeah, it is important. Okay, yeah, I forgot to ask it for this, but I also want to outsource. I'll create a new file for that. Transcribe TS. Also outsource the transcription related functionality into a new function in the transcribe TS. Oops, not this one. Transcribe. It doesn't know my new transcribe TS file yet. Oh, it does. I just placed it in the wrong folder. It should be in the lib folder. So this one. So that it also moves that. And whilst it's doing that, I can see if there is something else I want to change. But I think, yeah, I think I'm quite happy with the state of this component thereafter. You can always do more. There still might be, but yeah, there is one bug. I want to make sure that once everything's done, it does not jump back to the initial state. Loved your complete React course on Udemy. It was very helpful in my training days. You are one of the people I truly respect because you have made me a good front-end developer. Wow. Thank you so very much, Adarsh. I don't know what to say. That's just amazing. And honestly means a lot to me. I'm super happy you liked the course, got a lot out of it. Thank you so much for the amazing feedback. What's your take on starting a new project using Remix compared to any other React framework? So Remix is now React Router, which is what I'm using here. So I'm using Remix, the latest version of it, you could say, here in this project. And I like it a lot, but I also like Next.js. And these are the two big frameworks. There also is 10-stack Start, but I only played around with that a bit. In the end, use the one you like the most. They're all, especially React Router and Next.js, are production ready. I think 10-stack Start is still in beta, and therefore really use the one you like. Or if you're looking for a job, I would go for Next.js because that is the more popular and used full stack React framework. I hate when AI changes too much. Yeah, absolutely. That's why I try to be very specific with my prompts to minimize that danger. Okay. Yeah, so that code moved. If, what's that doing? If handle, if result key. Oh, so if we get back a success result in the end, we start the transcription. Well, I will accept this, but I think I'll change it. I think we can just, yeah, I'll name it transcribe. Actually, and I'll leave it like this. If result key. Yeah, I mean, the entire error handling is also something we should probably take a look at. We might not be catching all potential errors here. And we set upload success to true before we check if we got a success result, I guess. Oh, no, we do assume we got a, well, but still, if we don't have like a key, I guess we should say if not result key, and then we want to throw a new error, and then we don't need to check down there. That makes more sense to me. Okay, so now I just want to investigate why exactly, once everything's done, it jumps back to the initial state. So we are transcribing here. So we set is transcribing to true here in this function. And in the end, we're setting it to false. Oh, and I guess like the drag and drop area, we report our upload success. We report the transcription success or the respective errors. But then here at the end, we set is uploading to false after we're also done with transcribing. Actually, yeah. Well, I guess no. I guess set is uploading false makes more sense. I understand why we're using it here in finally, so that we also do it in the error case. But I guess I want to set it to false before I start transcribing. So I'll do it like this. And again, we might be able to come up with a cleaner implementation for sure. So set uploading is to false. Set transcribing is also false here at the end. So both is false when we're fully done. And that's why the drag and drop area then basically jumps back to the initial state. Makes sense, makes sense. So it probably would make sense to have like another state here. Transcription result, where we also output the transcription result, right? Because right now we're not doing this. Right now I'm transcribing. But then in here, in this file, I'm of course... Where am I writing this to the disk? Where am I writing this to the disk? I'm probably doing that in the API route. Where is it? Here. Yeah, here I'm writing to the... So I want to get rid of that. I no longer want to write to my disk here. Instead, I'm sending back the transcription result here. So here, I'm getting that. And we could use sort for validation here. I know that I'll get back an object of this shape, which will have a transcription key, which will hold a transcription result, which will have this shape here. So that's a bit messy to just hard code this all. So here we should, well, no. Here I'm returning transcribe result already. So in video, I get my transcribe result here. Oh, and I'm logging it. I'm logging it here. So I'm logging that in the browser actually. So let's see. I should see that here then. Yeah, let's save everything and let's go back and upload and let's see. We should get some outputs here in the log. Whoops. File uploaded successfully. Yeah, transcription completed. So that's the shape of the data we get back. And in there, under additional formats, for example, we got these SRT captions. Under text, we got the transcript. And I think outputting that transcript would be nice. So I'll just copy this object here. Or actually, well, we can do that manually. So we can say set transcription result, transcribe result dot transcription dot text. And that should be a string. And then we can go down here, check if we have a transcription result, and if we do, output it in a paragraph, sure. And now with that, hopefully, if I upload this file one more time, why do I not get this transcription result? Is this something invalid here? Let's again console log, good old console log debugging. Transcribe, it should be correct, I think. But should be correct is not something that would have ever been helpful. So, oh, so much activity. I love it. Well, I got already through that. I think that all use state must be migrated to a reducer. Well, maybe not just yet. Okay, so we got the text. So must be some other reason why it's not rendering here. I'm trying to use a very strict TypeScript and linting, but still, if left alone, it would introduce hundreds of TypeScript errors. Yeah, it can be a bit hard. That is correct. I haven't had much time for following courses lately, but I will admit your courses are among the best I have seen. What I tend to do, though, with projects is a mixture. I take bits of several different courses and combine them, like Dockerizing for a Docker course. Yeah, so first of all, thank you so much for the amazing feedback. I'm super happy you're liking the courses. Means a lot to me, truly does. And mixing and matching from different courses is absolutely perfect, in my opinion. You wanna apply that knowledge. I sell courses, I earn money by people buying my courses, I get it, but I create these courses because I want people to learn something, and you only learn something if you really use that knowledge. So building stuff and taking pieces of knowledge from different sources, different courses, is the perfect way of learning and growing, in my opinion. Many companies in Germany have Angular-based products. From today's point, I do not get it. Why? Well, historical reasons, probably. Angular is not a bad framework, by the way. But yeah, I mean, companies, unlike us maybe, or me, do not switch frameworks as often. Are you German? Yes, I am. As Hodrick said, jawohl, das ist korrekt. What do you think about spec engineering? What is spec engineering? Am I missing something obvious? I'll be honest, I don't know what spec engineering is. Yeah, we have a Git repo. It's this one. You also find it on Maximilian Schwarzmüller Extended YouTube under the last episode here. And I'll also, of course, put it below that when I upload this tomorrow. It's on my M. Schwarzmüller GitHub repository, GitHub account, AI-captions-web-app. So why is this text not showing up down here? Even though it should. I'm updating my state, right? Set transcription result. I'm logging it, so it worked. Set transcribing to false here in the end. That is good. Yeah, we can reset this here too, sure. And yeah, this is a lot of states. You could, of course, merge it into objects or use a reducer, absolutely. Transcription results, so that is really weird. I'm not really sure why the text won't appear down there. Doesn't make too much sense to me. I mean, this entire div is not appearing when I reload. Oh, it's down here. Wow, why is there so much empty space? Wow, is there like button? Oh, because we had a min H screen. I mean, I don't know why we have this div soup here anyways. Can't we just like put that in here and get rid of that div here at least, and like this? And like the background color, I don't need to set this here. Let's go to root TSX and set this here, I guess. That's the better way of doing it. So now with that, I've uploaded this file a dozen times, I guess. Now hopefully we'll see that text. Okay, that looks much better. That's the transcript of the video I just uploaded. Pretty good and already pretty useful. But we're just getting started, of course, because we want to store, we're only at step, well, no, we finished the second step, at least to some extent. We can do more cleanup, but it's good. Store transcription results on R2, because right now they go into the void. I mean, I now do output the text, at least, but the SRT captions, which have timestamps next to the text and so on, that all is just thrown away. So that should change, and I guess it's also a good time now for another git commit, cleanup, git push. Here we go. So what I want to do is ultimately, I want to offer a download button that allows me to download these SRT captions. So I want to upload them. So I get my SRT captions here. I'm really not too fond of that code structure like this, to be very honest. Like having these nested state updates, but I don't want to, yeah, I'll do some cleanup work probably off screen or later because I don't want to bore you all. So yeah, for now here, let's say I want to upload those transcriptions to Cloudflare, just as I uploaded the video file before. So I want to upload this JSON data in the end. And I want to actually upload it already. I already want to extract different parts, like the SRT captions, the transcript, and the word level timestamps. These three things I want to extract and upload. So it's good that I have this transcription JSON file with the structure here, because I can use that as reference for the AI. Because, again, I'll start a new chat to have a clean context. I'll ask Cursor to do that for me. This component handles the upload of the upload and transcription via a third-party API of a video file. The result we get back has the shape you see in at transcription JSON. Add a new function to transcribe TS in the lib folder to extract the words, so this array, the SRT captions under additional formats content, and the transcript text. Then generate a new pre-signed URL, C pre-sign, and upload those files to Cloudflare R2 into a new generated folder. Use fitting file names based on the video key plus type of extracted content. Make a plan, then execute it step by step and carefully evaluate your results after every step. I'm writing this here because I want to at least increase the chances of it making a plan, because I got a quite complex prompt here. We could split it into multiple prompts, but we'll try this one. Hi everybody, hi Jem, hi Gitcoder. Nice to have you here. I guess dev agency companies that do lots of short-term projects can switch frameworks a bit more freely. Companies that maintain products long-term don't switch much. Yeah, absolutely. Because switching has a huge cost, of course. You have to migrate all the code, you have to retrain personnel, maybe find new personnel. So yeah, you definitely don't want to do that all the time. if you're a big company. I mean, even as a small company, it's not necessarily fun. Now let's see what cursor gives us here. And I really have to say, I don't know if it would have been faster, and obviously my code wouldn't be perfect either. It's always evolving over time, but yeah, I really am not too happy with this code here, but yeah, I guess it's good enough for now. So it's creating some types here, as it seems. Transcription result. That's, by the way, a nice thing about AI. We could, of course, also use sort to validate the data we get back and then have it infer a type from that. But of course, the great thing about AI is you can just give it an example snapshot of what you're going to get back, like this JSON file here, this transcription JSON file, and it can then infer a nice type for exactly that shape of data for you, which is, of course, quite convenient. So that's good. Hopefully it's correct, though. I don't know if it's correct. Okay, so what's it's doing here? Adding more state, sure, because we don't have enough. Extract and upload transcription files. So in there, I'm not a fan of having like combined functions like this. I would rather separate that. We can tell it, of course. Is it stuck? Is it still doing? Yeah, it's still doing something. Yeah. Yeah, making quite a lot of changes here. Obviously, it wants to update the UI as well. And then here it's giving me download buttons, which is convenient. We'll see if it works. It wants to run build. No, thank you. I wonder. The URLs it's constructing here, those shouldn't work because, of course, all the content we upload to R2 to this bucket is protected. It's not a public bucket. So constructing URLs like this, download URLs like this, really should not work. What it actually would need to do is create pre-signed download URLs that are temporary URLs, which are public to specific objects. And that should work then. So we can already tell it here. Your download, well, we can test, but I would be shocked if that works. So I'll accept this and accept this, sure. Some wipe coding wipes here, simply accepting, and we'll try it again. Uploading, of course, still works. Transcribing probably will as well, but we'll see if the rest also works thereafter. Nope. Error extracting. Error. SRT format not found in transcription result. Okay. In transcribe TS line 139. Okay, that's where the error message gets generated. So it looks like the SRT part, right? SRT format not found. Get upload pre-signed URL. Is it the content type it is requesting here? Or is it the extraction? Failed to extract and upload. So we don't know if it was uploading or extracting. Video to line 88. No, that is probably not it. So I guess extracting works. That's my guess. But maybe generating a pre-signed URL for this type here fails. Maybe it should just be, what is it? Plain text? Is that the correct? Text plain. Because in the end it is just some plain text. Yeah. Let's see. Because it's possible that Cloudflare complained in the end that it can't generate a pre-signed URL. I should be coding myself. Indeed, here I am. Well, the good thing is I'm also not really coding myself here, right? It's mostly AI doing its thing. No, okay, so that failed. Too bad. SRT format not found in transcription result. Okay, so we'll have to dive into the code. Too bad. So we know that we get back data that has this shape. And content type text SRT is probably correct. Anyways, it has this shape, which is inferred by the AI based on this input here. Additional formats with requested format, and then a content key that contains the actual text. That looks all right. I also want to check if something was uploaded. If nothing was uploaded, yeah, I don't have anything other than the videos folder here, as it seems, with all those videos. So yeah, it doesn't even reach the uploading part, I guess. It fails before it even starts. So where is it extracting stuff? It's trying to extract the words here, the SRT content here, but what I don't get is how can this fail with this error? And why is this error showing up here on the client side? Well, yeah, I guess it makes sense, but SRT format not found in transcription result. That's such a weird error. So here I will go back to text SRT for now. Here, oh, okay, that's where the error is thrown. So it did not find. Well, I know with certainty that we have additional formats, an array with an object. I just quickly want to check. Is it correctly extracting the transcript, for example, or is the entire logic of, oh, I want to check something else under video. Okay, so that's interesting. The transcribe result here. Yeah, I think that's the problem. Start transcription. So it says that it returns a transcription result. So an object which has this shape here, right? But I'm not sure if that is correct, because my backend API actually returns an object with a transcription key, which holds the transcription result. So the transcription result is in a nested transcription key. So therefore, since I don't extract that here, since I just forward that response, I would need to access dot transcription here. And then I'm passing the expected result back. See, that's one problem. That's where sort could help. If you validate, you could maybe catch such errors quicker because you would see that you're expecting the wrong shape of data. But I think that is it. That might be the reason for this entire problem. So here we go again, uploading this again. Is your stance against agentic coding changed? I'm not sure which stance you think I had before. If you think I was 100% against it, I wasn't. I'm 100% against vibe coding, which is a different thing. I do see some value in using AI as a support, but you don't want to rely only on it. And figuring out where or what the balance is, that's the tricky part I'm still struggling with. Okay, we got a different error now. Process is not defined. That is a clear indicator that some server-side code is executing on the client side. And I think that is probably happening because we're using, this here to construct these URLs, and that won't work because this code here is running on the client side in the end, because in video TSX, I'm calling this function from the client side. So that's causing this problem. It's not a huge problem though, because this way of constructing the URLs was incorrect anyways. In this file, the URLs for transcript, etc. are constructed incorrectly. You should request and return pre-signed download URLs. C at pre-sign, because in there I have code that supports requesting download URLs. I have like a, where is it? In the upload here, and upload TS, because in there I already have a get download pre-signed URL utility function, which can be used. Well, AI coding must be careful of bugs. Yeah, definitely. We had a bug right here, 2 bugs actually. How developer jobs will going to shape with new opportunities and challenges in upcoming years. I mean, it's impossible to tell, of course. Nobody knows with certainty. But I don't believe, I'm convinced that all these people telling you that AI will do all the development work and write all the code in like 6 months. We've heard that like 12 months ago, and it will not be true in 12 months either. As a developer, you can get a lot of value out of efficiently using AI. That is something I deeply believe in. Getting the balance right is tricky though. You can feel more productive without being it, but you should definitely, in my opinion, be able to use AI. Vibe coding is not the solution, in my opinion, and giving up and doing something else. If you like coding, if you like writing code, I would 100% stick to it. If you don't like it, it was never a good job to begin with, to be honest. Okay, so now with that, let's accept this. Let's try again. Now we should hopefully get valid download URLs. Yep, that looks better. We got the generated files here, and if I download the SRT captions, it's not downloading them, it's opening them, but it's fine. These are valid SRT captions. Let's take a look at the transcript. That's the transcript. And the word level timestamps, that also looks good. So yeah, now we're doing all that, and let's double check. But they have to be there, otherwise we couldn't see them. But let's double check Cloudflare. We should see the files there too. Here they are. Awesome. Perfect. So that's that. That also is working. So we store the transcription results on R2. The next step is to store that data also in the database, because of course right now, whenever I reload this page, It's all gone. I got no way of getting that data back. Sure, it's still on R2, but it's not linked to my user in any way, right? These are just video files and text files in the end that have a unique ID, but that ID is not my user ID or anything like that. So there is no link between that file and my user ID. Now we could try to incorporate the user ID in those file names. That might not be a good idea for various reasons. One reason simply also is performance. It's not a good idea to always query all files on Cloudflare to filter out the files that belong to one specific user. That is not what Cloudflare is optimized for. And you also you might not want to put any user data into Cloudflare anyway. So that's not the solution I want. Instead, what I want to do is I want to also store some data in the database. When we upload a file, when we create the transcript, we want to store entries in our database so that then as a next step, we can have like a nice user profile or a page where a user can conveniently see all the files they uploaded and all the artifacts that have been generated. Yeah. Oh no, I'm late. Max is showing us how to dominate software with AI. Well, I'm not sure if I do. I'm using AI. If I'm dominating the software world, or if I would have been quicker if I've done it myself, I'm not sure. But I'm also talking a lot because it's a live stream, obviously. We'll see. So first things first, let's quickly create extract plus store artifacts on R2. So that's that. And now with that, yeah, let's work on that database part. Now I do already have a database. Let me briefly bring this up here so that it's visible, this file structure. I do have a database, which currently only has tables for the users because those were created by BetterAuth. I do have a DB folder with a schema TS file, but that is pretty empty and just exports the BetterAuth created schemas. But it's in here now where I, in the end, want to define schemas for the extra stuff I want to store. Just as BetterAuth did it here for the users. So I want to have, yeah, a videos table makes sense for the uploaded video files. And every video should have, should have a primary key. We can generate that. A title. I don't know. It should have a file name, I'd say. Which is of type text and not null. Blinds are coming up. Created at and updated at. Sure, we can do that. I also want to have a R2 key, which is the unique identifier, the file name on R2, which is not the same as the file name the user chose. And I want to keep the user's file name as well. We can also get the duration and store that as extra metadata. Yeah. And then I want to add another table. I'll name it artifacts. Let's see, we want to have an ID. We want to have a link to the video, definitely, because every artifact belongs to a video. Then a type. And yeah, I guess the type is something like SRT and so on. Therefore, of course, we could also add another artifact types. Oh, can we do that with Drizzle? I don't have a lot of experience with Drizzle. Can we predefine certain allowed values like this? And do I want to do it like this? I can always, yeah, I'll leave it like this for now. We want to have the R2 key of that artifact as well. Yes. Yeah, I think created that. Do we need, well, we don't need updated at here either. It's not going to change. Yeah. Okay, so I guess these are the two tables I want. Oh, we need to link it to a user, of course. That is something we need to do. the user ID. Yeah, no, let's. I guess also do it like this. Or actually, yeah, that shouldn't be not null. So like this. Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think I also have, yeah, I have scripts for generating and running the migrations. So I want to run db generate. No schema files found for path libdb schema ts. What? But this file does exist. Drizzle config libdb schema ts. That is the file I just worked in. Did I break it with my changes like this? I mean, is it in the app folder? Oh, it's in the app folder, right? Yeah, okay. So that and migrate to update the database. And now in the database, we should have more tables. Now we got the artifacts and the videos table as well. Do you still find stuff you didn't know when you use AI? About AI, you mean? Yeah, I definitely do learn more about using AI, hopefully a bit better. But then again, also, I constantly fall into the trap of using it too much. And I feel like I should have used it a bit less. So yeah, and about code, it helps with learning something you haven't used that much, though there's always the danger that it teaches you an outdated version. So for example, Drizzle. I haven't used Drizzle a lot. So all the completion and the help I get by AI is very helpful, but it's very possible that this Drizzle code is code you would have written 2 years ago, but not today. That's the disadvantage. To humble Max, by the way, in a lot of your guys' courses, you tend to be favoring Firebase. Do you utilize Supabase often? So I'm just using Firebase in a lot of courses because that was super convenient to set up and was very stable. I personally have almost never used Supabase, and my problem with using Supabase in courses is that the danger is way too high that it changes rapidly regarding its interface, regarding its features, regarding how you use it, and then the entire course breaks just because of one third-party dependency the course wasn't even about. Hello, what's going on? We're building a video captioning web app with help of AI. Hi, didn't know you were on Twitch. I'm a big fan. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thanks so much for joining. And by the way, no worries that you missed it. All past streams, including this one, are uploaded. And I typically stream every Thursday, so maybe I see you again in the future. So anyways, now we did define the schema. Now we did migrate and so on. Now we can start storing stuff in the database. And I want to store whenever a user uploads a video and whenever we get artifacts. So let's see. We got the upload TS file. upload file with progress. In the end, we need, well, no. In the end, yeah. In the end, we need a new API endpoint or action that's triggered whenever an upload is done, because currently we're not registering this on the server, only on the client side. But we need to register it on the server side because we want to, of course, connect to the database from the server side. So we need a new API endpoint that is triggered when an upload is done. So we probably want to have an upload complete TS file here in the API routes folder. And then here under routes, I want to have route API upload complete and point at this TS file. So that's one thing I want. And then in there, we export an async function called action. And we'll let AI fill in the blanks. So that's one thing. Yeah, that's one thing. So we need that. And then when the transcription completes, we already have a server-side route for that. So here, to do, store results in database. But of course, with results, yeah, that's the tricky part. With results, I actually mean I need to know which R2 key, so which key, which file name we're using on R2. And I don't know this here. So actually, we also probably need a transcription complete TS file, which also exports such a function, and where we also, and we could maybe also merge this, but I want to register the things differently. So yeah, actually I'll keep it like this. And then here we have the async function. Yeah. And now I'll let AI do the rest. So we need to store information about completed video uploads and transcription artifacts in the database. See schema to understand the database schema. Write to the database in upload complete and transcription complete. No, and transcription complete, and trigger and send the requests to those functions from inside video TSX when the upload transcription completed successfully. And let's see what we get here. Drizzle versus Prisma. Actually, I am the kind of guy that often writes the SQL statements by hand. But I have used Prisma a bit more than Drizzle, but I'm no expert in either of them. But Supabase UI is so cool. Well, I'm not saying that Supabase is bad. It's just the stability that mattered to me for the courses. Same with MongoDB, by the way. It's if a course is about Node.js, let's say, I don't want to worry about breaking the course because I'm using some backend for some or some database, some managed database for some demos, even though the course is not about that. So I want to use one that has the highest chance of being very stable. That's the only reason. To be very honest, I'm not using Firebase in any personal projects or anything like that. So let's see if that will work. What are we doing here? Nano ID. Well, we could just generate an ID with help of bun. Didn't even know that Nano ID is installed here. I don't even know that package. It's a dependency of something, isn't it? Of Drizzle, maybe. Huh. Is that a Drizzle thing? Drizzle Nano ID? Maybe. So what's it doing? Adding some data here or some type definitions, and then here upload complete in this action. Yeah, that makes sense. It's checking whether the user is authenticated. I like that. Because we don't want to, yeah, it makes sense. We don't want to accept requests because anybody could send requests to our API endpoints. That's a good point. And by the way, that's also something I should therefore take care of in the other API endpoints, which are currently not protected. So that is an example for AI implementing something that actually helps with security. So that's good, very good. Then it's extracting that data and inserting it into the database. So it looks good. I mean, we'll see if it works, but it looks good. What about transcription complete? Also checking for auth here. Then it's checking for the different kinds of artifacts, and it's pushing them into an array, and then it's going through that array and it's inserting, or no, it's inserting that entire array with everything that's in it or not. Okay. Yeah. Now it wants to install NanoID. Actually, I'll say skip and say use bun. What is, let's see, bun unique ID, generate, use buns random UUID function for unique IDs instead. So where is the video ID coming from? Is it doing this on the front end now? Video ID. Where is it? Okay. Yeah. I guess crypto is also available in the browser, but actually the video ID should also be generated on the server side. I don't want to do that in the browser here. And yeah, I could move it myself, but hey, have the AI do it for you. Though it definitely would be faster to do it myself. Let's see. So now it is hopefully, yeah, it's generating the video ID here now and no longer here on the client side. Okay, yeah, so here on the client side, save video to database, but it's actually not reaching out to the database here. It's sending the request to the respective API endpoints, which makes sense. We could put them into separate files, but I'll go through that file and clean it up anyways. So I'll just leave it right now since I have to end this stream soon anyways. And instead, let's see whether that works. Would be nice to end the stream with that success. So again, let's use that same file. I'm always using that file because it's rather small. Upload again. And hopefully it gets written to the database. We can already verify that. Take a look at it under videos. Yeah, looks good. Looks good. We got the video here. Duration. Yeah, I'm not extracting the duration. I still have to do that. And then now that it created the... Yeah, under artifacts, it's also there. It has the keys. Let's see, agents, intro, captions, SRT, words, JSON. Yeah, looks good. So we're storing that in the database as it seems, and that therefore all seems to work the way it should. So we actually were able to also store or complete this, though I will say I would want to extract the duration as well. And actually, oh, we already got downloadable results, so we completed this too. Oh, we made good progress. Only that we'll not get to that today. Okay, so one more thing before I wrap this up. What did I want to do? I wanted to, oh yeah, the video duration. Please also extract the video duration and store that in the database. And we'll see if it's able to figure that out. It probably needs to, well, I guess it can also extract it on the server side. We'll see. Great. Did you say you were streaming on Thursdays? Yes, indeed. I try to stream every Thursday. Though on some Thursdays I get other appointments, and then, well, I don't have another day. Then there just is no stream. But typically every Thursday, and for example, next week, there's nothing in my calendar, so next week I'll be streaming on Thursday. And in general, I upload all my stream recordings here on this Maximilian Schwarzmüller extended YouTube channel, including this one, which will be up tomorrow. Let's see, it's still generating. Where is it working? So video duration, another piece of state. Oh boy. There's so much cleanup work to do. So creating a video element, using that for extracting the duration. Isn't there a simpler way of doing that? I'll have to check that. For now, I'll just accept it and see if everything still works. I hope I did now not break it with that last change. Now I'll upload a different video to mix things up. It's a longer video. And that video has a duration of, let me check, of 6 minutes. 6 minutes and 4 seconds. So let's see if that all works too. There also are some optimizations I would want to implement. For example, I want to convert these MP4 files to MP3 files. The disadvantage of that is that then they will touch my server. But the advantage is that I can send smaller files to 11 labs, which has the advantage that I can send, well, they have a 2 gigabytes limit. So if I, and a 2-hour limit, I think. But the problem, of course, is if I send them a file that is 2.5 gigabytes, but only 60 minutes long, they won't transcribe it, even though it wouldn't be too long, but it's too big. And therefore, if I convert the video files to MP3 files and I send those, I can transcribe bigger files because I convert them, right? So that is something I also want to implement. Isn't there a simpler way of doing that? I get that with AI too sometimes. Thursday's worst timing, how unlucky for me. Yeah, sorry. I guess every day is bad for someone. But yeah, as I mentioned, at least I do upload those recordings. Yeah. And maybe in the future, it will also be another day or an additional day. But right now it's Thursdays because that's the day that best suits my calendar right now. Okay, so I got no error, which I guess is good. Now let's see in the videos folder. Yeah, now there is a duration, and that is 6 minutes and 4 seconds. Perfect. What a nice way of ending the stream. Stored video plus artifacts metadata in DB. Git push. Hi Max, which course do you recommend for a beginner? 100 Days of Code? Yeah, if you want to get into web development, my 100 Days of Code web development course is definitely a great choice because it's built exactly for that. Yeah, absolutely would recommend. And with that, thank you all so much for being part of the stream. 2 hours already passed. I gotta go. As mentioned, I'll upload it. I'll be back next Thursday. I'd love to meet more of you there, and I hope you liked it. So, all the best to you. Have a great evening, day, morning, whatever it is for you. See you in the future. Bye.